Coming to you from the heart of the Great White North. Welcome to the Canadian Prepper Podcast. Immerse yourself in the world of preparedness with insights from seasoned experts and a touch of Canadian practicality. Your go-to source for all things survival, resilience, and self-reliance. Now, let's kick off another episode packed with knowledge and strategies to ensure you're ready for whatever life may throw your way. Stay tuned and let the journey to preparedness begin.
Welcome to episode 266 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We're recording live May 4th, 2025. I'm Jeff. I'm hosting the show tonight. I'm based in Central Ontario. I'm a target shooter, a ham radio operator, general overall handyman, and weather nerd.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brad. I'm in Eastern Ontario, part-time amateur prepper, constantly trying to better myself.
My name is Pierre. I'm a tactical beard owner, base t-shirt merchant, government critique, and the reason we hit the explicit button.
And just for the record, Pierre, I don't know where the explicit button is, so have at it.
Fucking right. That's going to be fucking awesome. Let's see the hate mail next week when some 4-year-old heard a bad word from me.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe this is the last time we say this, but if anybody wants to help support the show or a legal cost, now you can buy some swag. We have both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the tactical Velcro patch at www.prepperpodcast.ca. Apparently, the proceeds are going to go to more than covering our podcast costs.
Maybe Pierre's legal fees.
Yeah, I will answer one day for what I've said on the internet. But until then, if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes, submit a review where you found us. We want your feedback, even if it's bad. We also invite you to reach out to us and tell us about something you learned in the week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
And we have some week-long content for this episode. We're going to start with some recent news, updates on our personal preps, and then we'll get into the main topic. It's Preparedness Week. Brad, you got some news? And you are muted.
Sorry. Yes, I do have some news. We've been going on about the prepared medical kits the last little while, and most of the people on the panel have received them and submitted for them and whatnot. But some people, myself included, we got a questionnaire from the insurance provider. Eric actually reached out to Prepare Medical, and I told him that it's normal when a new service like this pops up. They are above board on all of their qualifications and paperwork and government fees and all of those things, and they provided information to Eric about all that. But they were saying, be honest, fill out the questionnaire, send it back. Everything should be fine. So I did exactly that. I filled mine out, sent it back. They have an automatically generated response saying, thank you for sending it. So they got it. And if anything else, somebody will be in touch. I put mine in 10 days ago. I have yet to hear anything. So I'm assuming everything is good. So
yeah. I believe Eric said, when it's a new company like this and it's something new and all of a sudden they're popping up, the insurance company's going to be like, hey, is this a legitimate company? Are they doing things right? Is it spam? They want to make sure that all the bases are covered properly. Mm-hmm. It's not that they're questioning it. Just want to make sure that it is a legitimate company and they've done everything right. So
I looked more into it to better myself and educate myself as to what was going on. And even new pharmacies, if a large drug company, if you opened a pharmacy, you're a small little guy, and then all of a sudden you have 200 or 300 prescriptions going into like a large insurance company like Manulife or Green Shield or RBC Insurance or whoever, they all talk to each other and they will question some of those prescriptions because this pharmacy has never existed before, and all of a sudden it's there with massive amounts of prescriptions going in. So once I got this and looked more into it, then yeah, this is just normal. They're not saying that give us all our money back or give the stuff back. I don't think they're just making sure that it's legit and you actually got it.
Yeah, yeah, because we were talking prior to that, right? Like, what if this company is based out of BC, I think, right?
Well, the
BC?
head office for Prepare Medical is in Toronto.
Okay.
The
So, yeah, like-
pharmacist and the pharmacy are both in BC.
Yeah, so the pharmacist that signed off on something for Ontario is in BC, so it's
Yeah.
like, they're probably just from the sounds of it questioning everything, which makes sense. And yeah, we like until prior to the show starting, you said like, hey, did you actually get all this? It's like, oh yeah, they could just be making sure it's not fraud. The insurance themselves, because it's costing them money, and if it is fraud, even though you pay for it, right? Like it didn't go to you, so yeah. So happy so far. Nobody's kicked in your door and said, give us the drugs.
That's right. So
Excellent.
yet.
Well, on a bit of preparedness or whatever, guys, kind of news. So there was a very large blackout, basically covering the whole country of Spain and Portugal. Back a couple days ago, there's still a lot of back and forth and finger pointing and blaming and, trying to figure out what happened. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what happened or what caused it. The fact is it happened. And, we keep saying to people that these are the things you need to be prepared for. The hurricane, you got 4 or 5 days notice, it's coming, or something else happens. You may have a bit of time. You turn around and your power goes out and it's out for a whole day. Or in my case with the ice storm, it was out for 12 days.
Yep.
That's not something that you have time to prepare for, and you need to be ready and you need to have your preps ready. Like I said, they're still kind of going back and forth about it and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's going to become more of a thing as the grid ages and they build more buildings, more businesses, more things that draw power, EVs, etc., that the grids just aren't going to be able to handle it. So
it'd be interesting to see how many or what the generator sales are in those two countries on a yearly basis for personal use.
Yeah.
Or any battery backup, like even the non we were talking about them on the Discord, I think it was.
I'm looking at
but yeah, actually, yeah,
like the Blue Eddies or the Jackeries or those kind of things.
Like the big battery backups, right? Like where you don't have to start the generator, but you can charge your phone. You can do little things, right? If it's going to be something small to get going. So yeah, even add those in, and we're in an untapped market. We can sell all the shit people are throwing away in Canada to them, man. We can make some bank.
That's the one thing throughout my experience with the power outage was the one thing that glaringly jumped out at me was when everything's charged and my freezers are good and cold and all that, and I want to shut the generator off, I have no way to power my router, my laptop, my monitors, all of that stuff without running the generator. Well, I don't need to run a 10,000 kilowatt generator for,
your
maybe 1,000 or 1,200 watts for, and it just, so that's something I'm looking at. I've kind of narrowed it down. It's either an Anchor or a Blue Eddy. And kind of the reason I'm going for those is both of them have the 30 amp RV plug on them.
Yes.
Because my thought process is that over the summer, it will stay down. My mom has a trailer and it will stay down at the trailer. So if something goes wrong there, she can just plug it in. It'll last for a few hours till I can get down there with a proper generator. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Some of them also, Jeff, have pass-through technology.
Yeah, they both do. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Keep going.
Okay, so if you live anywhere on the West Coast, especially around, I'm thinking maybe Vancouver Island, Seattle, those areas, just like tornadoes and stuff like that, volcanoes, earthquakes, that kind of stuff, they're really, really hard to predict. You don't know when they're going to happen. However, based on all the science and looking at historical data and doing the scans of the seafloor and all that, they are sounding the alarm that a underwater volcano in the Pacific Ocean that's just off the coast of Seattle could erupt, quote, any day now. Who knows what any day means? It could happen tomorrow, could happen next week, next month. Anyways, it's called the axial seamount. And I've got a link there. I'll plop the link into the show notes there. And but yeah, if you're anywhere in that way, depends how bad the eruption is, whether or not it could cause a tsunami or do other stuff. And I mean, there's lots there. I mean, it's not like your normal volcano that just blows steam and ash out. As soon as it comes out, it's going to hit the colder water, and yeah,
it's going to make more ocean bottom.
Yeah,
instantly make more land, but yeah,
exactly.
Interesting to see.
I was going to say something, but I don't think we want that kind of explicit comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try and remember afterwards. Remind me of this volcano and the name and everything, and we'll talk after.
Okay. So we'll move into what we have done lately for preps. Brad.
Plenty of work. Starting to unpack the non-wintertime tools. A bit of fuel rotation. I actually did some generator tests last week.
Excellent.
I do them maybe 3 times a year kind of thing, but last week I did all 3 of them. So I was happy.
It's better than nothing.
Absolutely. Reached out to a friend of mine 1 town over. He's actually been on here before, Corey. Looking to get rid of some older firewood that I have in my my backyard that's been piling up that I haven't gone through fast enough. And he has a good wood stove. And does he have an outdoor cooker, Pierre? I don't know.
It's been a while since we've been over. I know they didn't have one last time I was there, but last time I was there, like in their backyard, not doing chickens, was like 3.5 years ago.
Okay. So yeah,
I know they wanted one, but with how busy they get and how much they expand on everything, I don't think so. But they might just cook over a fire. Yeah.
Either way, I know he'll take care of the firewood. No issues. He'll get rid of it or put it to good use in the gardens or in the flower beds or whatnot for his wife. So looking to get rid of a few things of that. And Lindsay and I decided we're going to start pulling out the seed starting gardening supplies next week. This week into next week to start planning out what we want to try to put in the ground. And I was actually talking with my sister about that as well, and she's doing the same thing this week. So to start planting stuff, most likely on the weekend, put some stuff in the ground. So that's what I've been up to.
Excellent.
Jeff?
So I continue with my yard cleanup. I'm pretty well finished. It's just up to the insurance company now to finish getting rid of that one tree that I'm still fighting with them on, but there's nothing more I can do. Did a bunch of fuel rotation. We were in line for possibly a day of severe storms this last week. Didn't happen, thank goodness. But I did some fuel rotation and made sure my propane was all topped up and everything, but I didn't need it, which was a good thing. So here.
Just starting to get into the spring readiness stuff, which should have been done a little bit ago. A little bit of fuel rotation, double checking my propane tanks. A, make sure they're not expired, and B, if I had one that was hidden during the winter, it's I mean, we still barbecue in the winter, but it sucks. And now that it's nice, like we want to barbecue more. So, just making sure we've got some propane. Tanks are expired or getting to be expired. Maybe go buy some, around this time of year. They tend to go at the Costco ones. Not everybody can do Costco, but the Costco, they got that gauge on there. That's a cat's ass. Can't complain. I was a good comrade, and I went and I paid to get someone to look and say that the government took all my money and they took enough and paid for it. So that was good. And then today we as a family took a small little trip to the business Costco center. Daughter, hey, push the cart. Then I got too heavy, so I'm pushing the cart and everything. But when we got home, we bought like the 10 kilos or whatever, the big meat tubes.
Yep.
And she's like, okay, well, everything's in the house. Like, I'm gonna go watch YouTube and be one of those kids. And I was like, hey, I got a better idea. Get the scale out, get the bowl out. I'm like, I want 1.5 pound bags of ground beef, and then I want 1 pound of this, and then I want this. So she divvied up all the bacon, the ground beef, the chicken, everything. So trying to get her involved, and she's like, oh, this kind of sucks. And I was like, if you like eating, this is part of it.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
I'm like, she's at the age, so I'm like, she likes cooking. So I was like, you see, like, there's a lot more work than just like opening up a can of SpaghettiOs and like doing whatever. I'm like, we're trying to shop savvy as best as we can, right? Like, I'd love to support, the local farmer, but if I can get twice as much beef for my money right now, until everything balances out and the economy gets a little better, like, I'll do my best. I'll go pick up steaks for a special night, but we all got to make a dollar stretch. So yeah, just she's at the age where it's just like, and one of the things I do is I'll get her to check the list off. And the next thing I'm telling her to do is I was like, okay, start writing the totals next to everything, not when it's a big list, but just some stuff, and get her to do math and be like, we have a budget of $350 for groceries, right? This is our list. It's like, you're going to walk around. We've got all the important things. So I'm getting her to write it down, and then I'm getting her to figure out how to add it without her phone. Before we get to the cash, I'd be like, do you think we have enough? I think we're good. We get there, we've got some extra. And if we've got some extra, we'll pick up an ice cream on the way home, right? Like, so yeah, just trying to get them, financially savvy and just thinking of what's involved in everything. And so far it worked. We got food. Everything's in Ziplocs. So
she got fed.
She'll
at some point appreciate it.
She'll learn to appreciate it at some point. So
yeah. It's not going to be anytime soon, but when she gets a lot older, right? Like, I think that's when it'll kick in, just being like, oh, I get it. So yeah, just like, that's an easy way to get your kids into just something, throw stuff in Ziplocs, buy something in bulk, throw it in Ziplocs, tell them to divvy it up.
Yep.
And,
mark it, date it, whatever. Yep.
Yeah. And we around this time of year, we tend to go buy chicken, steak, ground beef, just our regular stuff. And we tend to vacuum seal for a year and a half, and like just put it at the back of the freezer. Then around the year and a half mark, we go buy new, vacuum seal it, and then we replenish it, right? So teaching them that stuff and everything. So yeah, we're just getting more family involved and trying to make it more of a fun family time. But she was all happy when she put enough meat in there and it hit like a pound exact. She was all giddy and put it in the Ziploc, put it in the freezer. So yeah, but it was nice to not have them in front of technology for a few hours. So win-win. And
well, with that, I guess we'll jump into the main topic. So as I mentioned, this week, May 4th to 10th, is what's called Public Safety or Emergency Preparedness Week or Community Preparedness, whatever you want to call it. So they some provinces call it. It's a national thing in Canada. I'm assuming it's in the States as well, but it's a national campaign led by public safety to promote individual and community preparedness. So, what does that mean for us or for so it's things like understanding everywhere is different. So understanding your local risk. So in the area you live, are you prone to floods? Are you somewhere like out west where it's wildfires or if you're down in we get them here in Canada too, but much more down in the States, you're in Tornado Alley or whatever like that.
Well, if you're on
ice
the East
storms
Coast,
that
on the East
we
Coast,
got
the tail
copious
end
amounts of snow, whatever. So
right, hold on. So Brad, repeat what you said because I barely heard it. And
I didn't
translated, but yeah.
If you're on the East Coast, you've got the tail end of the the southern hurricanes coming up the coast.
Absolutely. Yep.
That would still be prone to creating flash floods and really bad weather and knocking out power and everything. So,
Yep.
like we were saying earlier about Portugal, how many generators are available?
And is that something that they frequently have a problem with? We have it here, and I'm not saying frequently, but you get those tornadoes and the ice storms and the hurricanes, and so some places are much more accustomed to power blackouts than other areas, and so so.
But like you said, knowing your risks in the area, is I personally would start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, they recommend, I think it should be longer. We'll live with it
as well.
They say you should be prepared to be able to be self-sufficient for 72 hours. So
I say 96 or more.
Yeah, I think nowadays 72 hours isn't long enough, but
no, I'd say a week.
Make sure you have your essentials.
Yeah.
Your food, your water, flashlights,
first aid,
batteries, first aid kits, cash. Power's out.
King.
Cash is king.
You got it.
Know where your important documents are, things like that. I've got a few things listed as well. I'm just kind of going over a generic list, and
we'll break it down more after.
Yep, in the panel or in the live chat has better ideas. Have emergency planning for your family. Very important. So if you're out of the house, you're at work, your significant other and your child is at home, how do you get back together? You need to talk about established meeting points, have emergency contacts, evacuation plans, communication strategies, those kind of things to think about, where you can get yourself back cohesively as a group, and it's going to lessen everybody's anxiety level for sure.
Even a rendezvous, if you can't come back together as a family unit, be prepared to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's when we said establish a meeting point. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I'll even say, especially at a certain age, or when you find your child to be mature enough, if you're both working and they're at school, something happens. Do they know how to get home? You show them a different route, how you want them to get home, so that if something happens, you can follow where they are, right? Like, in a perfect world, almost everybody's together, but I'm out of town for work. I was out of town 2-3 weeks ago. I was in Nova Scotia. I'm at best 15 hours from my house.
Yep.
So my wife and my daughter were at our home. We got the dogs. If they're at home, I'm not worried about it. Ask Brad. Those dogs, good luck getting past them. Like, it's not happening, right? Or very not easily, at least. But like, hey, say I'm at work and well, Mel's normally home, but let's say she had something or whatever, and something happens, and your kids are at school, or there's just something out of your ordinary thing. What's your communication things, right? Fingers crossed, cells work. She can text. We make sure her phone's charged. But yeah, just what's in, think worst case scenario, not everybody is there and just one person missing, like, and obviously at the age where nobody starts freaking out about everything, kid wise, but just taking that into consideration when that time comes.
I kind of had the same sort of setup. There's a coworker lives down the road from me, single parent, younger daughter. So we had come together with a plan of, she's at work, she can't leave. Daughter's at school. That's now mine. I'm responsible to make sure that I get to her. We know where to meet. We know how to get the plan and get her either back to my place, back to her place, somewhere where
you're
mom isn't
and safe.
Mom isn't freaking out and
Yeah.
we're all safe together.
Yeah.
On that, you mentioned that, so don't forget about plans for possibly your parents if they're more senior. They can't get out, they can't, are they part of your plan to be able to, maybe go get them or get them supplies, make sure they have supplies. The kids, children that we just talked about, Pierre mentioned it, your pets, don't forget about your pets. You need to make sure that your animals have food and whatever.
Or at
now,
least
mind
you want to
you-
make sure that they're well fed in case you got to eat them.
Well, I was thinking the other way. You want them to be hungry so that when Arsehole shows up, he's the meal.
Oh yeah, that. But also, if it
Or
comes
that.
down to it, I'm eating my dog.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to avoid that at all costs. But if I need to,
I'll come to your
You
house
know,
and have barbecue, Pierre.
yeah, but bro, we're gonna pig roast, like, right? Like, nobody wants to talk about that, but like, and I mean, we're talking very extreme scenarios. Like,
Oh, hell
Jeff,
yeah.
you were at a power for 12 days. Did you ever think you were like, man, if I had a cat, I'd be eating it? Like, we're nowhere near there, right?
No.
In most scenarios, right? Because obviously we're prepared and everything, but yeah, like, when we have the opportunity, we don't like keeping too much extra dry dog food, but we will keep extra rice, either canned veggies or frozen veggies, canned salmon. Our dogs go crazy for a bowl with like just regular white rice, salmon, and like throw some carrots, peas in there. Man, they go crazy, and about 20 minutes after they eat it, both of them are like rolled over, full, and like, way more energy and everything. So it's just like, if you've got pets, specifically for us, we have dogs. I can buy a 30-kilogram bag or 30-pound bag of rice for
$10.
a few bucks, and tuna. If you're gonna feed it to the dogs, dollar store, $1.25 a can.
Oh yeah.
Can't go wrong, right? And just having a little bit of extra, like, you got to worry about yourself, but yeah, if you've got pets, big thing to worry about, because if your dogs are hungry, they're not going to be very friendly in 2 days.
No.
Nope.
No, they're not. But
So
going along
you're-
with that, Jeff, like you were saying with your seniors and children's and pets and whatnot, with the medications.
Yep. Yeah, that's on the list somewhere, but yeah, go ahead. You're absolutely right.
If you can, this is exactly where that prepare medical thing comes in handy. And a lot of places, you can look up what the prescription renewal time is. So if you have a pill that you take every day, okay, well, if and discuss this with your doctor, your healthcare provider, if you can skip a day every so often, now you can save one pill.
Yeah.
And do that 5 or 6 times, you have almost a week's
2
worth
weeks.
or whatever, right? Do that every so often to get one more pill, put that aside and rotate them out so they stay fresh.
Oh.
Now you have, like Pierce saying, you got 2 weeks worth of medication stashed. And those pills are, a lot of medications are usually good for at least a year, 18 months.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Right. And I mean, we almost ran into that scenario last night. Like, Brad was over. Mel was like, "Oh, my puffer's out. Oh, I got to put the prescription through, this, that, and everything." And I was like, "Well, technically, we have one upstairs." So it's like, we can still fill this prescription. Like, if you absolutely need it, go get it from Prepared Medical. But I was like, when you pick up the prescription, right? Like, pick it up today or Monday, let's say. I was like, just put it in that bag,
get them back.
and we're good, right?
Yep.
So that was with it. So I know that's not going to be available for all medications, but if you have something along the lines that is in that Prepared Medical that ends up being a regular thing, let's say it's a shelf life of 18 months. Well, at 12 to 18 months, maybe swap out your regular prescription for what's in that package. You're just pushing off that clock.
You're rotating the stock out to refresh it with something nice, something fresh in there, and you should be good to go for a while.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
So
Yeah,
so you are home when it happens. So home safety stuff. Things like Alan will be clapping somewhere. Your smoke and CO alarms. Make
Yep.
sure that they're still within date. Your batteries in them are good. Do you have a fire extinguisher? If you don't, you probably should. That doesn't have to be a big one, just a small one. They last a long time.
Costco's got good deals on those little spray can ones.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, even the bigger ones, like I don't mean like the big ones, but I'm like the ones that could put out like something. I'm like, we're still talking. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate parting with $120, but they're under $120, and I'm like, if something happened, like we have a small one, and I do want to get a bigger one.
Yep.
Check them. You store them inside. So for my work, we get ours inspected every year, right? So every year someone comes in and says it's still in the green, and they shake it, and they're like, "Oh, I still hear powder," like, and they check it off, right? And it doesn't cost a crazy amount, and they come to our location to do it. So if that's something you're worried about, I think you could even probably reach out to your local fire department and say, "Hey,"
absolutely. I would think. Yep.
and I'm like, I don't know for sure because I do it for companies, so I need paperwork, I need a bill and everything. But I'm like, I do have a feeling that if you reached out to your local fire department, they would either do it or at least point you in the right direction. Because if you can put out the fire, they don't have to come, right?
Or
And
or
like,
the other thing is, just kind of from a little bit of experience from me, not the fire, but your $120 fire extinguisher that just put out a little fire that caused no damage, as opposed to going to your insurance company and putting a claim in and having $1,000 deductible, right?
plus an insurance hike the next
$1,000
year.
out of pocket.
Yeah. Plus
And
your
your
insurance
rates
goes
are
up.
going to go up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah,
cheap
if you're
insurance.
ever worried about that, yeah, keep your insurance cheap. But like I haven't done it, which maybe I mean, my fire extinguisher is only like a year and a half old, but I am curious. Maybe next time I see them out there and they don't look busy, I'll hop in and just be like, hey, like if I've got a fire extinguisher that I'm like worried isn't good or whatever, like what do you guys recommend? If they say just like bring it in and we'll let you know, like go buy a new one or whatever, I think it's well worth at least a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than having that conversation in your yard because they're putting out a fire because your fire extinguisher didn't work.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Community. So,
People.
what's your role of your neighbors? Do you trust your neighbors? Do you have your neighbors? It's sort of in on, going way back to the family thing. You're not home. Your wife's not home. You send your kid home. Do you send them to the neighbor? You say that's the first place you go. You go to the neighbor. They're maybe an older retired couple. They're going to be home. They're going to go to the neighbor. Maybe you don't trust that neighbor and you say, do not go there or whatever. But it's always a very gray area of not telling your neighbors too much, but knowing enough that you can or can't trust them in a time of need or whatever. Same thing, a local prepper network, or we call them MAGs, a mutual assistance group, or other mutual aid in disasters like the Red Cross and the Salvation Army and those kind of things. They might be something to look at if it gets that bad. I mean, I do know in our ice storm here, the Salvation Army had a food truck and they were out there every single day. And if you needed food, you got food. So, it was really good.
I will say that I've heard good things about those food trucks from the Salian, that they kind of spare no expense in making sure all their stuff is good, healthy, hearty food that comes out of those trucks. Yep. It's not like your gut truck going around to the construction sites or some of the fly-by-night taco trucks on the corner there. These are professional people doing a professional job to make sure people get fed.
Yep.
That's nice.
Hats off to them.
Just to elaborate a little bit on Jeff's point, he mentioned, your neighbors, like you don't want to be too indulging. I do a lot of precaution even though I'm on the internet talking about it right now. Most of my neighbors, I don't have to worry about them knowing what YouTube is. But you know, you don't want to come off too eager to not so much to impress, but just to indulge too much information that you feel like you trust the person, and then because you're not home, that person you trusted figures out how to get into your house and do this and do that. So that MAG thing is mutual assistance group or community. Like, have people over, but you can come over and I'll give you a steak, I'll give you chicken, I'll give you burgers, we'll cook, we'll sit by the fire. It's not an open invitation for everything, but like I want to put a little bit of precaution about getting to know people's vibes, I guess you could say, before you just indulge a little too much information, right? You like the first conversation, you want to be like, "Hey, you want to come see all my guns, my ammo, and all my water storage?" Like it might not be best.
And I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole forever on that. But there's been a previous couple episodes where, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. So if you've got extra food and extra water, and don't just keep it all in the same place. Find a different spot somewhere.
Yep.
Preferably not in your residence, outside somewhere, maybe an outbuilding or something, or I've heard of people taking freeze-dried food packets and putting them in ammo cans and burying them. I mean, that's extreme, but it also,
if it saves your ass.
If that person if that neighbor comes and wants to clean you out, and they clean you out, they're really not cleaning you out. They just don't know where else to go. So
right. We're going down a rabbit hole, and we're talking.
We're going down that big rabbit hole. So where can we find information? I know a lot of us have some mistrust of the government, but good places to start: Public Safety Canada, your provincial emergency management site, as we mentioned, Red Cross, Salvation Army, those kind of places. A lot of them. It's funny now. More and more of these organizations are putting things out, and they're blasting things out. 10 years ago, you would have never heard a peep out of them. Now,
nope.
They've got pamphlets out there. They're online. They're on the TV, and they're kind of saying what all of us already knew was they cannot be the be all to end all. It's not something happens, you pick up the phone, and 10 minutes later somebody's at your door with a bag of food for you. It doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen.
That's skip the dishes, right?
Well, you're skipping something. I don't
know. Yeah, but I mean, shit. Man,
no, I definitely agree with that. Everything you said, Jeff, on where to go, and even your town hall is going to have information on different programs and different pamphlets and different lists that you can get to figure out what you need to do for you.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of this stuff that we talk about is a general list, a general idea of what you need to do. But
obviously we throw out the ideas, but we're not doing your homework for you, and we're not picking and choosing for you. We're giving you ideas. We're putting thoughts in your brain, but it's up to you to go and run with it.
Yeah. Like, if you guys have heard me come up with fantastic ideas and horrible ideas on this podcast, and you came to my house, you'd just be like, how the fuck are you even on the panel? Like, I'm half-assed behind everything, right? Like, I have fantastic ideas. I am horrible at executing. Ask Brad. He was over the other day, right? And we're just information. And so government, at least, is putting out information, inform people like, hey, do your research. I thankfully don't go down the rabbit hole of Instagram anymore, but you can go down the rabbit hole of YouTube University. You can get a degree in engineering watching enough videos. So whatever your scenario is, right? Oh, you should have a backup generator or something. Okay, well, how do you maintain one? What's the best one for the needs I need? What's this? What's that? You can go down rabbit holes of watching generator reviews and testing of people that have done that is probably way better than anything else you can do in the world. So don't put all your eggs in one basket for your preps. I say don't put all your eggs in one basket of where do you get information.
Oh, absolutely. Because let's call a spade a spade. YouTube is good, but it is full of misinformation, disinformation.
Oh yeah.
And I always say, like, know your sources and know, there's we're not going to name them, but there's somebody else who does a podcast who just peddles fear all the time. The world's about to end. This is going to happen. You got to buy this. You got to buy that. It's just like
I got a government contract. You should buy it from me before I have to mandatory sell it to the government.
Yeah.
It's a genius
idea.
Yeah.
You got to really be careful and know your sources and know, and if something if that light bulb goes off and that click goes off, listen to it and say, you know what, maybe I better research this a bit better and learn it a bit more. And that comes down to my next point of awareness and education.
Before we get into that, Jeff,
yep,
Ozzy in the live chat has a very good point of he posted there. Secret to prepping is knowing your garden and how to seed your stock, and have guns, lots of guns and loads of ammo.
So you didn't need lots of guns. You just need reliable guns.
Yeah,
well, that's another way of putting it. Yes.
Don't get me wrong, and this could be a whole other big rabbit hole that we're not going to go down. But
yes, please don't.
There's nothing wrong with guns, as we all know. I own them. I'm a proud gun owner. I have no issue with that.
Yep.
But sometimes it's hard and it's odd, and I'm not trying to pick on our American friends, and we're still friends, even though things are going along however they are. But I don't know how many times that you go or you listen to an American podcast on prepping or something, and the number one item on their list is you need guns, more guns, and more ammunition. And it's like, are your guns going to grow your plants? No. Are your guns going to harvest your plants? And
they're not going to give you water.
Is your gun going to make your water pure? No. Like there's got to be.
And we're going down a way rabbit hole where I'm like, if the power goes out and I'm out of power for 3 days, one of the first things I'm grabbing is probably not a gun. Now, I may strategically place a few guns somewhere, but I'm worried about, allegedly, right? Like in a Call of Duty scenario, right? But it's, okay, well, where are my flashlights? Where are my batteries? Is everybody home? Where are my backup batteries? Is my backup radio? The point of like, yes, everybody wants, that garage full of ammo and an arsenal of guns. But the odds or the scenario where it becomes legal for you to do anything in Canada with that.
Oh, that's
probably won't see it, right? So, yeah, so I'm not saying you shouldn't have it and that shouldn't be part of your preps, because 100% it should. But should you buy an 18th gun instead of 2 days worth of food? It's probably not the rabbit hole you want to go down, right? So you want to be efficient, you want to be comfortable but around guns, and if needed in the god-awful situation that'll probably never happen, have to defend yourself, sure. But all the scenarios we're talking about, guns are one of the last things we're thinking about, right? Like, they're around just because we're gun owners, but that's not your go-to, right? Water.
Yep.
But what good is 7,000 rounds of 223 if you're dead in 4 days because you ain't got water in 3 days?
Yep.
I'd rather have 3,000 rounds and survive 3 weeks than die and not be able to even pop one zombie off. Like,
And Gary in the live chat makes a good point. It can be a false sense of security. Having those 100%. Guns could give you a false. So Yeah,
Well,
I think we should just leave it there because we're going to go down a bad rabbit hole. And we're just kind of gonna leave it there. But
that's a whole other 3 podcasts.
Yes.
For Monday
But
night.
so going back kind of to the awareness and thing is, you know, do you have conversations? So, you know, how to promote preparedness maybe at your kid's school. Look at their policies and what they have. If something happens, what's their plan to keep the kids safe? Where do they put them? What do they have for meals or snacks or things like that? Or, you know,
How much
it's
water
not a bad thing to be in that conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing maybe at your workplace. You're at your workplace. Okay, if something bad happens, I'm assuming, not all places, but I'm assuming most workplaces have a safe place to go for, that fire alarm goes off. We meet over here. Power goes out. We meet. We all go. We meet here. That kind of stuff. If they don't, is that something that you can go to the manager or the supervisor and say, I think we really should have something like this, and this is why. So
muster point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not legal to not have something like that, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, like everybody wants a paycheck, but at the end of the day, your safety of security factors, if you work somewhere where you weld all day, your fire risk is probably way higher than if you water gardens.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So what's the prevent? So you can drown if you water gardens compared to fire if you're welding. So, do that cost analysis. And if not, like, take charge, like, make it something. There's due to technology and everything we're doing right now, right? Like, me and Brad live 25 minutes apart. Me and Jeff live 5.5 minutes apart. We're talking with milliseconds of interaction delays. If it's something, there's courses out there. You can do safety reps. Most companies, 100% willing to get more people first aid certified. Hence why I don't pay for my first aid. My work pays for it. They will pay for health and safety board people. Whoever the chairman is, you got to go do these extra courses. They'll pay for it. You can get up to the standards. You get access to a bunch of other stuff. Yes, it sucks because you got to do the people's thing and you got to embrace the corporate umbrella and look at safety policies and this and that. But just the knowledge you will get to that and also get paid for can be very beneficial to you. Yep. So don't discount any of that.
And remember, moving on a bit. So go back in history and look at real world scenarios and lessons learned from those scenarios. The 2021 BC floods, right? Or I think it was 2023, Nova Scotia had the wildfires. And of course, in Ontario, we've had the 2 big ice storms, 98 and again in 2025. And,
yep.
I'm not saying by any means or shape, form, or sideways that I am the prepper guy. I am absolutely not. Did I learn a whole lot of stuff in my 12 days without hydro? Damn right I did.
Yeah.
And do I have a sheet about this long of things that something happened or I needed something? And I went, don't have it. Jot that down. Like we were talking about just before, I'm not sure if it was before actually on the thing about a backup generator, but having something more on top of that, like small, portable, non-electric generators. So like we're talking like a Jackery, a Blue Eddy, Anchor Solar, those kind of things. That's on the top of my list because I realized, hey, I can't be running my generator 24/7. I don't need to run my generator 24/7.
Yeah.
But when my generator's not running, my Wi-Fi doesn't work, my laptop doesn't work, my monitor doesn't work. You know, not that I have to be connected to the outside world 24/7. I'm not one of those kinds that is 90% on my phone. I may be 10% on my phone. But the most of it is, you know, being able to have that freedom and have the connection with the outside world to be able to say to people, hey, I'm fine. Or, hey, is there anybody in the area that has X? I need to borrow a sump pump for a day or a water pump for a day or something like that. So,
or even Hydro One, Enbridge, all those places use Facebook, Tickety Talk, like they use those things to send out messages. So if you don't have access to the internet, depending where you live, you might still have cell reception. Depending on everything you do, that might be the only way you do. But also looking at so just a complete side note, or Jeff, you're talking about the backup you want. What's the charge time on it?
I probably wouldn't run it down that much, but they said from like 70% or 60% battery power on a generator, plugging it into the wall, you're looking about an hour and 3/4. Well, I would normally run my generator 2 hours anyways, make sure the freezers are frozen, the fridges are, you know, my power banks get topped up, all that stuff. It would fit right in.
Right. And not just that, but also like, okay, well, maybe you want the peace and quiet at night that you can have a few things running, right? And run your generator for 3-4 hours. So you don't want something that takes 23 hours to charge.
No.
But what's the charge time, right? That's something you need to take into consideration of, okay, well, say it's at 10%, you don't want it to go below a certain percentage due to battery and everything, right? Okay, what's the charge time? Is it, you know, a regular window where, you know, you wake up, you make your coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you'll search generator at 7:15, give everybody 15 minutes of peace and quiet due to probably bylaws, and then you want it off by a certain time. Can you recharge that? Will it replenish the 2-3 things you need that you can now shut off and still stay in communication with whether people from the podcast on the signal chat, because you may not have good reception, this, that. So that's another thing to look at, right? Like, what's your output? What's this? What's that? And that's a whole other rabbit hole we don't want to, but we'll just mention that, and then you go down the YouTube University for yourself.
And funny point, Ozzy. And by the way, Ozzy, keep it up. We don't mind at all you throwing stuff in the live chat. Fill your boots. He says, fun fact. It's not a fun fact. It is a fact.
It's
propane doesn't go bad. So and that my generators, both of my generators, my 10,000 watt that I run my Generalink off of, and my smaller generator, they're both dual fuel, and I will only put gasoline in them if I have to. So because then, like he says, propane never goes bad. You know, your fuel after 6 months, you got to drain it, you got to stabilizer in it, you got to none of that stuff. So
and also this is the time of year most chip trucks, meat wagons, all those things start coming out of hibernations. If you've got Costco business centers close to you, you can get 100-pound tanks there, 100-pounders. So actually the same company Brad uses for propane currently, where I used to live, right? They came by, they were filling up propane tanks. So I was like, hey, do you guys fill up anything other than those giant propane tanks? And they're like, we'll fill up 100-pounders while we're here. So I'm on natural gas here, so I'm good. But I've seen a propane tank around here, propane fill-up thing. So we want to, fingers crossed, re-landscape the back of the backyard and put a little lean-to and covered area for all the propane things we have, where I'm like, hey, maybe I'll go buy a 100-pounder and get on a schedule, or 200-pounders, and get someone to come in and do all the piping for me. But if you can call around and, hey, do you fill 100-pounders at someone's house? Well, it might be worth buying one this year and a second one 2 years from now. Excuse me. Right? So you're not buying 2 propane tanks every year, but like just that deviation of propane doesn't go back.
Yeah.
You can only carry so much propane, but if someone can come to your house and have those filled, and then you can have those 20-pounders as backups.
Well, that's the thought that I have, Pierre, is exactly the same thing.
Yep.
Is when I was using the propane for those days, and I realized, okay, my 30-pound tanks are great, but I'm only getting a couple 2.5 days out of those tanks. Yep. I do need something bigger. Yep. So that's my thought, is a couple of 100-pounders. And then I still want to have the 30-pounders for the portability, be able to just pick them up, put the generator in the truck, throw a propane tank in and go.
Yeah.
100-pounders aren't that great. I'm not getting any younger. So, but yeah.
Talking legalities, you can't put 200-pounders in the back of your truck. No. Right. So I have, I think, 8 propane tanks. Right. And I went somewhere and I was like, hey, can I get 6 of them filled? And the guy's like, technically, unless you have a
transportation certificate,
I can't give you more than 5. I was like, fill one. So this place was right around the corner from where my shop was. It was like, fill up the first one. I'll go drop it off at my shop, and I'll technically only leave with 5. He's like, well, legally I can say okay, but he's like, you're probably gonna go pick it up. And I was like, I'm not answering that question. So he's like, fine. Filled one up. I went and brought it to my shop, which was like a 30-second drive from there.
Yep.
And I only left the premises with 5, and then I went and picked up the other one because I wasn't taking the, half hour there, half hour back. I wasn't doing that. But right, we're talking legalities of finding a crazy scenario. Fine, throw 6 100-pounders in the back of your truck, but like legality reasons, right? You can only carry a certain amount of.
And technically, then this my buddy got questioned on it. Yeah. He filled 3 100-pound propane tanks that they use at their fish camp, and he just slid them in the back of his truck, closed the tailgate.
Yep.
The guy from the propane refill comes over. Hey, you got to stand those up. You can't just lay them flat in your truck. You got to stand them up, and you have to have a way to secure them when you stand them up.
Yep.
So they let him go, but they said, next time, if you can't prove to me that you don't have a way to stand them up and secure them when they're standing up, I won't fill them for you.
Yeah, right. Yep. And that falls under the bartender. Did you have too much to drink? Or are you driving home? Like, fine, we can agree to disagree about it being a stupid rule, but it's probably a rule for a reason, because what if one of those tank valves go off? Let's say all 3 tank valves go up. Someone rear-ends them, right? Yep. We're causing crazy mayhem. So it's not a thing to disregard. Fine, we can talk about funny rules implemented by anything, but yeah, that's a thing, right? 100-pounders, fantastic. Most, or at least the company Brad has and I had when I had propane, they said they would fill up 100-pounders at your house. So I'm like, well, shit, right? Compared to getting at 250, those big ones with the 350s, 550s, I was like, fine, I don't want to put a 100-pounder propane tank in the back of my truck, but if I had to, I'll figure it the fuck out.
Yep.
Right? So,
hey, Pierre.
Yeah.
Do you have a dangerous goods certification?
Depends who's asking.
The propane guy.
No, I don't. Due to my work, I could legally, without air brakes, tow more than you with air brakes.
Oh, I know that, but
yeah,
that's not dangerous goods. That's your license.
No,
but
yeah, but no, I don't have a dangerous goods, which is why I can only have 5 20-pounders in my vehicle at one time. But you have your certificate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not that complicated to get.
No, it's not.
I don't have it. I haven't looked at it, but if you can get it, and for example, Jeff was saying like, hey, you need to do this, that, whatever. If you've got your certificate, tanks technically are supposed to be standing up.
Mm-hmm.
You can carry like fill up a truck bed full of 100-pounders if you want, as long as you have that certificate. Go for it. Look into it. Maybe that's something you want to add to your preps of being able to carry 20 100-pounders of propane. It never goes bad. You just got to make sure that the tank doesn't go too rusty where you don't trust that valve anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
and that's kind of the reason why they only have 10-year, and then you got to get them recertified, right? So
yeah. So we have a bunch of propane tanks. I'm fingers crossed this year gonna buy 2 more, just because I bought quite a few 3-4 years ago, maybe 5, where I'm like, I don't want I don't want all my tanks expiring at the same time.
Oh hell no.
The more you can, right? Like buy 2, then buy 2, and then buy 2. So that rotation is always like you only need to fork over the money for 2, not to fork over the money for fucking 10 of them, right? Like in a perfect world, that always works. But I'm not gonna lie, I have like probably 5 tanks that are gonna expire at the same time, but that's the thing where I'm like, okay, well this year I want to buy one, so I've got that cushion, right?
And I'm because of what I discovered through my power outages and that. So I'm actively looking. I will admit the one thing I do a lot of is Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji, just looking for
Good deals.
The deals and things that and I will say this: anything right now related to at least in my area in Central Ontario, related to power generation, so generators or propane or things like that.
Skyrocket.
They're just a stupid price right now. Like people are asking $100
for an
expired 100-pound propane tank. And I'm like,
bro, you can buy a non-expired one for less than that, or like $30 more than that, and it costs $100 to certify it. Like,
I honestly don't know what the cost of recertifying a tank is compared to just buying another one, but I don't know. But Pete in the woods says when you get close to expiring, send them to that extra or spend the extra $1 or $2 at the swap exchange and just swap them for a newer tank.
Yep, you're not wrong. Make sure you do your due diligence on those places. Certain places will check them before they swap them out, but maybe those I noticed a few Walmarts have like I want to swap my tanks. Yeah, the automated one.
Yep.
Where I'm like, like wear some sunglasses and like a hood, and like because I don't trust anything that does. Like, I guarantee you, there's a fucking camera on this bitch.
Oh, there is.
Right, but I mean, technically, it's gonna go with your card, but you can say someone stole it. And that's might not be legal.
Get a Visa gift card.
Well, right. I'll tell you the one. I won't name the place. I probably should, but I won't. I went to get a cylinder filled, and they said it's expired. And I went, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to go and do a tank exchange.
Yeah.
I just walked in. I left the tank outside because it says, do not bring tank inside.
Yep.
I went inside and I said, I've got a tank I need to swap. I paid the kid. The kid comes out, unlocks it, gives me a new tank, puts my tank in there. Never even looked at it.
Nope.
Never even looked at it. Just gave me another tank. See you later.
Yep. And some places check them, some places don't. Some places are like, well, is it our tank? Like we have a company out here, which I won't name either, but Brad knows the one in St. Isidore, where I'm like, they won't even fucking take it. Like I could bring a tank from McEwen's or any supply propane place, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna give you $90 for a 20-pound tank, and they're like, well, that's not our tank. I was like, yeah, but I'm also like paying 4 times more what it costs to buy your propane tank.
They still won't take it,
and they still won't take it, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna find a tank, and I'm gonna like heat up the thing, and I'm gonna take it off, and then I'm gonna heat shrink it back on a fucking tank that's almost expired. So that's my next project. But Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. Get your dangerous goods or whatever the hell Brad mentioned, like hazardous goods or dangerous goods. Like
Dangerous goods.
yeah, that's the thing. You've got the hunt camp, you've got something. You want to take that on of buying 200 pounders this year and a year or two buy another two. Go get it. It's not expensive. It's not rocket science to do it. I've never done it, and I can guarantee you I can do it with my eyes closed. Brad has it, and he'll agree. Like Brad has it, and he agrees. Like it's not rocket science.
No, I've done it
You
3
can
times.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
So I just quickly jotted down 5 things, and I just kind of said, here's 5 things that I think are important. They're in no order of priority 1 to 5. They're just ideas that I threw out there. It's not a complete list by any means, folks. Just kind of ideas. So things that you should maybe kind of have a bit more of a priority on. Water. I mean,
3 days without
basically,
water. You're no good.
3 days or more without water, and you're on the decline. So
Yep.
water, or a way to purify water. If Ian was here, he'd tell you, get out there and buy that life straw. But or a Sawyer or a Berkey or one of those things, or a way or bleach and purify your water. I did an episode a while ago on water purification. Go back, have a listen to it. Batteries and flashlights, especially in the dark. Flashlights are nice.
Yep.
Now, I will give you a bit of a tidbit. And sometimes we just get so involved in things that we don't, not that we don't think about things, but we get into a habit and we buy something. So I was talking with somebody about the preparedness, and I'd been kind of helping them a bit through, and we had talked about it, and I said to them, did you go out and get your batteries? Yep, I bought a whole bag full of rechargeable batteries. I'm good to go. And I just kind of looked at it for a second, and I said, they're great until they go dead. How are you going to recharge them? And he went, it's one of those things, right? It didn't cross his mind, right? Hey, I'll just recharge these batteries. Well,
I'll just plug it in the wall. But what if the wall doesn't work?
Yeah.
Right?
So kind of, I'm not slagging him. I would probably almost half the time do the same thing myself, but it is what it is. We talked about this earlier with Jace Medical and that medicines, antibiotics, that kind of stuff, and a first aid kit. It doesn't have to be an elaborate first aid kit, but you should have medications, extra medications if you can, and a first aid kit.
Absolutely.
And I will say, it's the time of year. Costco is one of them. You go there and they've got the ones that you put in your car, your boat, and a car and a boat. Come in fancy little pouches, which mine's in a bin that's buried right now, but you open it up and it folds out and it's got like, you've got like a boo-boo, you got to stop the bleeding, or you got bit by something or afterbite or whatever. Very reasonably priced. May not be the best quality, but you get the bag. You can add to it. You can't find them, mid-fall, all through the winter. You can't find those kits at many stores at a reasonable price. But when the nice weather starts coming out, first aid kits are a big thing because people are going to start going for hikes. They're going to start going camping. They're going to start going four-wheeling. They're going to start going boating. So companies understand that. They get a bunch of shipments in so that people buy it. Now is one of the best times to go get it. Those ones that go at Costco, I bought one. It was a metal tin to put in your car or your boat or whatever. And I'm like, it's got Band-Aids, it's got gauze, it's got this, it's got anti-burn stuff, it's got afterbite. It's just a little tin. It's not great. We took a bunch of stuff out and we put better stuff in. But for the price of everything you get in it, I'm like, you can't beat it. Like you can build your own for $300, or you can buy this one for $20 and then add $60 to it, right? So you're still way under that. And you get the package for it. So keeping an eye out on those places right now is one of the best things for first aid kits.
Excellent. I threw in there matches and or fire starters.
Yep. Absolutely.
For me, like the matches of fire starters, fire is multi-purpose, obviously. Heat is the one important thing. But then you can use that to cook food or warm up your food. You got MREs or something like that. You got a way to warm them up. Then, fire's a great thing.
You can use it to purify water if needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one best way to purify water is to boil it.
Fire is also light and comfort.
Yeah.
Mental comfort.
Right.
Yep.
So
100%.
Amazon, you can buy they're the dollar store really shitty lighters. You can buy a 50-pack for $20. Throw 6 in everything you own. You'll be good. We had them for the wedding because we had people lighting stuff up everywhere, and I'm I still got a box full. They still work. They're 3 years old. They still work. They don't really go bad, right? Yeah, for sure.
I threw in there non-perishable food, so canned food. So things like meat. So I'm thinking Pierre mentioned even for the dogs, but canned salmon, canned tuna, spam.
Chicken.
Like you may laugh at it. It'll save your life. Spam, soups,
ham, chicken,
soups, beans in cans, things like that. That's kind of my list. I can't go without giving a shout out to Brad. If you're buying non-perishable stuff in cans, you damn well better have a can opener or 2 or 3, and not the electric ones, the manual ones.
Yeah, and you better have a holster for it, and you better have a level 3 certification for it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Something to add to that list, Jeff, is communication.
Yes, you're right, and it was hard for me to just pick 5.
Yep.
Because there's another thing on there. I mean, I'm not married, but you guys are, and you've got, so feminine hygiene products, toilet paper. Those kind of things are very important for not just how do I
for everybody.
How do I word that properly? They're good. They're good on the mental health side to have them, but they're also good physically to have and
they're also good for your sanity because when you tell them fold paper towel and put it in your underwear, they get all upset, right?
That is true too. Actually, in that case, it would be a life-saving instrument because you would get killed.
Yeah, 100%. They'd eat me before the dogs. 100%, right?
So, it's hard to just pick 5, but I just kind of.
But you picked your 5,
right?
The best of
absolutely
your scenario, right? So water is going to be on mine, medicine, fire starter, so on mine. Canned food, 100%, because I got to talk to this side, right? So we could take a top 5 and go through all the panelists, and I'm sure there's going to be some layover, and I'm sure there's going to be arguments about why didn't you add this and not that compared to this and that and everything, right? Because it is all personal, where we live, our personal needs. For all you know, I need to put facial cream every day to keep this majestic beard and beautiful face going. Jeff doesn't care about it, right? So we can have a discussion about that.
And I don't need to worry about a man bun either, buddy.
There you go.
I let mine down, good sir.
Okay. But that discussion kind of goes back to at the very beginning when we talked about identifying your regional hazards. So depending on where you live, right?
Yes.
If you're in downtown Toronto, do you need fire starters and matches? As you said, Pierre?
No, they'll be burning tires in 20 minutes because from their country, that's what they do, right?
Maybe you have a fire extinguisher in your house, but you wouldn't need one like maybe I would being out in the country where
wood stove is your main source of heat.
My wood stove is my main source and all that stuff. So that again goes back to understanding your local topography, your local risks, all of that kind of stuff. So we could go on like that forever. But so with that, we've been an hour and 15. I think we've had a really, really wholesome conversation and some really good discussion on ideas and thoughts and planting the seed, talking about that, hey, maybe having seeds is something you want in your top 5 list for your garden, right?
Yep. And we're not talking about planting the seed like you're going to have a kid in 9 months.
No, not that kind. So with that, if anybody doesn't have anything else, or if there's anybody in the live chat that wants to throw in something that we've missed or ask a question about something, let's move on to the podcast challenge then, Pierre.
Oh, fuck me. I didn't read that. I don't know. Give me a second. I got to scroll down. Review your preps and see what needs updating for your area, and send an email because we'd love to hear about it.
Feedback at prepperpodcast.ca.
We absolutely love it. And we haven't had some in a while, but something you learned, or tell us how we're wrong and why man buns are better than what Jeff has, which is no hair.
No, it's not what I have. It's what I don't have.
Right? Tell me why a man bun is better than turtle shining your forehead every morning.
Yep. Upcoming events, Brad.
The annual Preppers Meet 2025 is coming up the week of July 7th to the 13th. The Slovenian Hunters and Anglers Club in Alliston, Ontario is hosting it again this year. Very, very beautiful spot to go to. I've not been, I was there last year. I was not in any other previous years, but the consensus was such a big upgrade in locations. The notes here say they're expecting to have a flyer ready for the end of January, which has now come and gone. So the preppers group, the Preppers Meet is also on Facebook, and I don't know how to add that to the show notes. So
I'll add it.
If you wouldn't mind.
Yep.
I do know that Eric is most likely going. I'm pretty sure. Jeff is going. I am trying to get there. I know that Gunny is also going to be there this year, doing a presentation again.
I'm going to try, but I make no promises. My preps are shit. Yeah. Well, hey. But also, that's the nostalgic. You'll never fucking meet me unless you know where I live.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
I'll do a quick weather blurb here. Just it's kind of more or less, this is the time of year, the spring and the late fall, that is the potent time for severe weather. You get the battle between the warm and cold air. So if you're right now, we're looking at a multi-day severe storm potential starting probably later tonight, tomorrow, Tuesday for sure. Down in the deep south, so we're talking Texas, New Mexico, that general area. They've been getting hammered a lot lately, but it's not going to stop. We will see a marginal risk on the East Coast on Tuesday. Areas like Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware might sneak up across the border. Not 100% sure yet, but it's just that time of year, folks, that you just got to really pay attention. If you don't have a weather radio, I suggest get one. There's all kinds of them out there. NOAA weather radios, you get them. Some podcasters have them on their merch channels, or
Rapid Survival.
Yeah, Rapid Survival has them for those in Canada. You can probably get them at Cabela's, Canadian Tire, those kind of places. So,
Walmart.
Yeah. So with that, any shout outs anybody has or anything, or?
No, thanks for putting up with us. But
Okay. So with that, I'll bring episode 266 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. We post them not long, or Eric posts them not long after the shows. Please submit a review. It encourages the algorithm to promote us, sort of, letting other like-minded people find the show.
And we record these shows live on YouTube and Facebook if you must, for those that are still there. If you want an early peek at the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. It gives you an alert when we are going live. And anybody wants to reach out, they can at batbradcpp@gmail.com.
You can reach me, or most likely my significant other, at offthewallcustomizing@gmail. Pretty sure she still has us up on Tickety Talk, Instagram, Bookface. I don't know. I don't do socialist medias. I'm technically on the Discord. Once in a blue moon, I'll come on, like the generator chat we were having. And I'll give my 2 cents on it. Or you can find me Monday nights on the other CPP, where I critique the government way more and most likely use more swear words.
So just so people know, Pierre, what is Off the Wall Customizing? What do you make? What's your...
So we will make t-shirts, sweaters, laser engraving on cups, metal. Technically, we can do leather, even though I haven't tried it. Pretty much anything you can think of, shirt or cups or laser engraving. So we did make shirts for last year's annual prepper meet. So if anybody did see those, we did have some giveaways. Yeah, we can pretty much make you a shirt or a sweater that says anything, even if I don't agree with it. There may be an extra charge for it. That's beside the point. But yeah, off the wall customizing. So
I'll send my I Love Mark Carney T-shirt to you, and you can tell me how much you're gonna charge me for that.
200. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll even cut out the tax.
Yeah. Anyways, with that, folks, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the active live chat there. So until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.
As we wrap up another insightful episode of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, we want to extend our gratitude to our listeners for joining us on this journey of preparedness. Remember, the key to survival is knowledge and readiness. If you want to support the show and engage with our community further, consider signing up for our Patreon and joining our thriving community on Discord. Links are in the description. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. This is the Canadian Prepper Podcast, signing off. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe, and keep learning.